Matt, will you tell us something that you believe about the office asset class that might surprise us?
So the co-working space market was valued at 9.2 billion, which was shocking to me too, in 2022 and is estimated to reach 34.5 billion by 2032. So a year over year growth of over 14% from 2032 or sorry, from 2023 to 2032, 14% growth. What I thought was amazing when you start looking at some of these stats.
Welcome to the source of commercial real estate, where we talk to the experts in non residential commercial real estate so you can grow your business, find a competitive advantage, and use real estate to live the life that you want. I'm your host, Jonathan Hayek. I'm a former public school teacher who found financial freedom through residential real estate investing. And now I invest in commercial properties, particularly small industrial. And today, I am talking with Matt Cozza. Matt is the Vice President of Development at Vast Coworking. Vast is one of the world's largest privately owned franchisor of co-working spaces, and he has over 30 years of experience in commercial real estate. And so this is certainly going to be an enlightening and interesting conversation. Matt, thank you for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Matt, as we get going here, why don't you tell us more about your background and what your work looks like today?
Sure. So I guess got started in real estate with my father. He bought and sold real estate when I was young, and I just got the bug, I guess. So I've been in commercial corporate real estate. My first job, 32 years ago, was with Blockbuster Video. So that was my first foray into real estate. Always puts a smile on people's faces when I tell them Blockbuster Video, and it did the same to you too. So I'm glad it still works. Yeah, so but I've worked for many other companies doing national rollouts, Family Dollar, C2 Education, Bruegger's Bagels. I worked regionally in upstate New York for a drugstore company, just different types of real estate that I've been involved in. And that was a drugstore company I took from 35 locations to 100. It was ground up build to suit, 2.5, 3 acre lots that we're building on. I worked in New York City for a grocery store chain, took from them 9 locations to 15. Doesn't sound like a lot of locations, but they were 50, 60,000 square foot grocery stores in New York City. So sitting across the table from Trump organization one time negotiating leases and telling me you want to, build a grocery store inside their building. So that was a interesting time.
Yeah, I mean, such an incredible amount of experience. And now you find yourself with Vast doing co working. Will you tell us more about Vast and what you all are about?
Sure. So I've been here 8 years now and been involved in every one of the Venture X deals. That was our first brand. And and then we took on Office Evolution and Intelligent Office, and we're a franchise-based organization. So what that means is that each one of our locations is a profit center. Each one of our locations is run by an entrepreneur that wants to succeed and has that drive to succeed every day. And that's kind of what sets us apart in the industry with some of our competitors. So I guess my day to day would be we're working on 40, 50 locations at any one time, just trying to, those are new leases, those are new letters of intent, those are expansions, relocations. We also help with, high level real estate support. So we help them every step of the way. So we're with our franchisees when they come into the system. I help them with the real estate. So you heard my background, but we have other people that have extensive background in their industry. We have a head of construction. We have launch services that helps them as well. And so all these folks that help them every step of the way have extensive background in their given field. So our three brands, VentureX, our average location right now is 22,500. Office Evolution, they're 11,000 square feet on average. And then we also have our other brand, Intelligent Office, and those are around 5,800 square feet right now. So if there's landlords out there that have spaces that are already built out, we'd love to look at those.
Okay. So I want to continue by talking more in generalities about co working. And then I want to get into exactly how Vast works because it seems like kind of a unique and novel concept. So when we're talking about co working space, what are we talking about?
Co-working space. So we go into a space, and a lot of times we're negotiating deals with landlords, and we're taking a space over. You've heard of WeWork, I'm sure, and there's other competitors out there, Industrious. So we're taking a commercial space, and we are cutting it up into smaller offices, one, two, four, 8-person offices. And really the private office is where the money makers are for us. And so we try and get a good mix of 55 to 60% of private offices to overall square footage, which still leaves a lot of room. When you look at the space, it still looks like there's a lot of room for to add more offices. But we do networking area. We have a cafe area that we have in a lot of our locations and our VentureX locations. Those are our networking areas. That's the lifeblood of the business for the VentureX, where people are meeting each other and greeting each other. And 22,500 square feet, there's a lot of people in those spaces. You could have 150, 200 people. So there's a lot of people that were driving to go to those networking areas and meet and greet, and maybe they'll do business together. But if they don't, this becomes a community. In the community, maybe they're just being friendly. Maybe they talk sports, or maybe they talk religion, whatever it is. But it does become a community, and those are your neighbors. And so it's a neat atmosphere to see once you get it up and operating. And
So I'm
yeah,
imagining, you've got maybe and tell me if I'm wrong, maybe a mid-rise office building. You all lease out a floor from the landlord. It's either 22,000 square feet, 11,000 square feet, 5,800 square feet. And then you go ahead and essentially sublease to other entrepreneurs, small business owners.
yes.
Who are you leasing to?
We have members from all walks of life. So it's a sublease, but we call them members. So we're a membership-based organization, and so we're VentureX. We have small businesses. We have more entrepreneurs in our space. We have real estate agents. We have doctors. We have attorneys. So you go into the Office Evolution, and we could have psychologists, psychiatrists in those spaces. Uh, Intelligent office, we have a lot of an executive. Those are executive style offices, so those are larger offices. So we have people that are running businesses out of those offices and needing services as well. So
And are these generally solopreneurs, or are you leasing to like a law firm or an accounting firm?
good question. So a lot of time, like we have Verizon or members in our spaces. So, but we do have attorney firms that belong to our spaces. We have a lot of people that come into our space, and they start with maybe a one person office, and they're growing into the 2, 4, 6, 8-person offices. At some point, they grow into a larger space. We've built out space for some of our members, 5 and 10,000 square foot spaces for those members, and expanding our space for that, just for them.
And what is your ideal location? Are these urban, suburban? What are the markets that you're targeting?
No, good question. So we are targeting, most all of our locations are in urban environment, or sorry, suburban environments, all suburban environments. And that's really where, we want to go where the people live. We want to be in the neighborhoods where the people live. We want to go in those a lot of the high end neighborhoods where there's good retail, there's a lot of commercial activity going on. We do really well also in live, work, and play environments. So you can imagine, so
Yeah, so I'm imagining you have buildings that you target in like walkable suburban areas, maybe close to restaurants, close to restaurants so people can go out to lunch, close to maybe a bar scene, so people can go out to happy hour afterward. So, like you said, kind of that live, work, play atmosphere.
yes, yes. We
Okay.
also look for amenities in the buildings as well. So we want to find buildings that maybe they have gyms, or they have cafes, or some of them have restaurants and daycare. And so we're looking for those buildings that the amenities that our members would be using. So
So let's talk more about amenities and what your clientele is expecting in terms of amenities. I've talked with some office brokers who are saying, like, yes, offices are getting leased, but the amenities that people expect now are now totally over the top. And so, will you go into the types of amenities that your clients, your members are expecting, either um, at the on the vast level, on in your floor plate, or at the building level?
okay, yes. So on the floor plate on our test fit locations, we look for private offices. So we're maxing out the private offices, and we have that magic sauce for figuring out the one person to four person, six-person offices that we put into those spaces. So that's first and foremost, because those are the money makers, or the private offices. Most of those go along the windows, and then you have other offices on the interior. For the Venture X brand, we have glass doors and walls that you can see the outside from the other side of the hallway. So there's a lot that we do with the layout of the space and how that's configured. But we're looking for high speed internet. We're looking for high end audio and visual equipment in the conference rooms, fast and secure Wi-Fi through fiber most of the time is our main, and then we have a backup. We want to on-site support. So that's a lot of that time. The on-site support is with the community manager in the space, but also the landlords also have a lot of support as well in the building. Some of the buildings have uh, conference rooms, large conference rooms, training rooms, gyms, as I mentioned before. We want to have janitorial services. So there's a lot of amenities, and everything that you could possibly think of that you would want to have in your space, we have. Free coffee in most of our on all of our locations. So you come in, you have good coffee, and a great place to network and meet people.
How much of a build out do you do? Are you looking for like good bones, or are you looking for office space that is already built out with how you mentioned all the glass, how you're standing at one end of the floor and you can see out the other end? How much of a build out are you doing versus what do you expect to walk into?
Good question. So a lot of the things we're looking for, we would love to be able to walk in every time in every market and have a space that's already built out, and we call those second generation spaces. And sometimes they're second generation office space, or sometimes they're another co-working space that maybe was too large or didn't work out, and so we're taking over some of those spaces. We love to find those. We look for those every day. We have a database of those locations and just matching those up to our franchisees. So yes, we do look for that. But when we don't find that, we're doing traditional build outs. We're taking space, gutting it, or taking having the landlord gut the space, or maybe it's a raw shell, and we're building those from scratch.
Can you talk me through the negotiations with the landlord? Are there any landlords that you run into where, man, they've got this great building in this great location, but they are reluctant to help you with a build out?
We do, and we. The good thing is there's a lot of opportunities out there, so we just move on to another location. But when we do find a location or a landlord, and we try and work with the landlords, we're always, trying to negotiate two or three deals at the same time in order to make sure that we get the best deal for our franchisees. So we're always looking for the best opportunity out there. But we help the franchisees. A lot of times, our franchisees come into the system and they have no knowledge of commercial real estate. So we're helping them every step of the way. We're helping them with the letter of intent, helping them understand, the difference between a net lease and a full service lease. Just those simple things. But I think that's where our motto and what we do on the franchise side, helping those franchisees understand how to get into commercial real estate. A lot of people want to get into commercial real estate. We've had half a dozen last year that I want to get into commercial real estate, don't know anything about it, and so we help them through the process.
I think that's a really good segue into Vast's business model. So you talked about your franchisees, and sometimes they don't even know commercial real estate. So talk about who you are targeting as your ideal franchisee.
We have franchisees from that are coming in. We had, like I mentioned, we had 6 new franchisees last year that just want to get into commercial real estate. They love co-working, and so those are our new franchisees. We have franchisees that come over from other industries, the hotel industry. We have franchisees from those industries that they're opening up their first and second locations. We're just doing a 30,000 square foot location in Tampa for a franchisee from the hotel industry. It's his second location. So we're looking for franchisees that, I guess the best way to say it is folks that understand or want to understand co-working. We can help anybody if they have a good business acumen that come into the system and help them get through the process.
It sounds
And we
like
do have a yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, no, it just sounds like you're looking for, your typical franchisee is an entrepreneur, not necessarily
That's
a real estate person, but someone with grit and perseverance and someone who's
yep,
willing to
that's a
to
good way to put it.
to try
Yes.
something new. And um yeah, so that's really interesting. That's surprising to me that because co-working space is kind of a niche thing, and so it's a little surprising to me that it's not only just passionate real estate people.
Yes. Well, we do have those. We have landlords that we have 2 landlords just this year that came to us and said, "Hey, we wanna do co-working. We don't know how to do it, so help us, teach us how to do it." And so, very sophisticated, landlords, but some of these folks just say, "Hey, I understand that I know how to lease a space up, but it's not the same leasing a space and finding members and putting members, in the seats. It's a lot different." And so we help them and train them every step of the way. So the beauty is we have this great training facility here in West Palm Beach, Florida. We fly everybody in here for a week and a part of our brand, and they get to meet all the team members here in our offices, train for a week here on our brands. It doesn't matter what brand we have there; they all come here worldwide. We put them up for a week, and then we do on-site training as well before they open. A few weeks before they open, we go on site and we train as well, and take them out into the field and show them how to meet people and make and bring members in.
When prospective members walk in to tour an office space, are they expecting it to be fully turnkey? Like, do you all provide furniture and desks and chairs and all that stuff, or are members bringing their own furniture?
No, we're turnkey. You walk in and it's all laid out. The furniture's in, everything's there for you, ready to go. We're utilizing a lot of sit-stand desks these days. We have great relationship with Very, and most of our locations are outfitted with Very furniture.
Matt, you've alluded to a couple times your three different brands, and I want to understand for perspective uh, co-working entrepreneurs, either with Vast or just doing it on their own. My first commercial building was an office building, and I did this co-working model, in not nearly as nice as yours, but it worked really well. There was great demand for these small offices for these solopreneurs. But I had just kind of one. I offered one thing. I had one brand. You've talked about three different brands, different sizes. Can you walk me through your different brands and why you have different brands and who they're targeted to?
Yes. So the Venture X was our first brand, and it's the larger brand. It has a big networking area, big cafe area. So we've got a lot of business people. We have a lot of attorneys and business folks in there. A lot of enterprise clients, we call them, like the Verizons of the world, will come to us and say, "Hey, I need 4 offices." And so we have a lot of enterprise clients and business clients in the Venture X brand. Office Evolution's more into the service industry, psychologists, psychiatrists, larger offices with, they have a little bit different look. They have a wooden door for privacy. And they do have a small networking area, but that's not as big, it's not as needed because there's not a lot of networking in the Office Evolution brand as there is in comparatively speaking to the Venture X brand. Still networking going on, but it's just a little bit different look. And the Intelligent Office is a smaller footprint and can go in smaller in the 5,800 square foot spaces. And those are executive style offices. Those are those solar entrepreneurs or, the small attorney firms that want to go into those spaces.
So I'm imagining how a listener might create something to target these different types of people. So there are people out there that need private offices, but they have different needs other than just wanting to have a private office. And so it sounds like in your I think you called it Venture X, the larger. It's contemporary, it's open, there's glass, there's lots of networking opportunities. There are people out there who are looking for that, who want to
Yes.
be out there meeting people, and the feeling and the environment of where they're working is very important, and they want to be with other like-minded people. But then there's other people that need similarly an office space. They need a place to work, but the networking aspect isn't as important. Like if you're an attorney or a psychologist, you might need an office with Wi-Fi and furniture included, but you're not there to meet people. You're there maybe to meet with clients. Maybe you're there to record a podcast or just do something independently, and you're more like, just leave me alone. I'm not
Yes.
here to network. I just need a place to work.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, then the intelligent office structure also, we have what we call intelligent advisors. So we offer extra services to those members. And
Can you
those could
talk
be
more
call
about, yeah, what
yeah,
those advisors
those
are?
could be those could be calling services. You know, if you had a plumber at your house, and it would be follow-up calls. Hey, how'd the plumbers do? And so we follow-up calls to that. It would be, other executive type services that they could offer as well. So there's all types of different services that they offer on the intelligent office to those executives that are in that space. But they could also offer to other people outside the space as well.
Hmm. For someone thinking that they have an office building or they're thinking about being a franchisor, and they can't decide, well, how should I set it up? Should I set it up like the intelligent office with smaller wood doors, more privacy? Or should I set it up like the Venture X, where it's real contemporary with glass everywhere and big networking spaces? Is it only based on the size of the floor plate, or is it market dependent or clientele dependent? How should someone decide how they set up their co-working space?
They call me and I help them do that.
Okay,
No.
so
Yeah.
tell us, how do you decide then?
No, so we look at the market. It's market driven. When we do get a franchisee that's looking in a market, we go to the market. If it's an intelligent office, we're looking at those executive style high rise offices. If it's a Venture X, we could still be in a large office, but there might not be as many properties out there for 22,000 square feet. We're intelligent office. We could find a bunch of those locations available. So we are looking at the market, we're looking at the demographics, we're looking at the amenities of the space, the building, and a lot of the office evolutions, they like to be on first floor. They want to be convenient for their members that are coming in and their customers that are coming in. So a lot of the office evolutions are on first floors as well. So we look at all those factors.
Tell me about the competitive advantage that co-working spaces have. Why do your members choose to go to you for a co-working space over, say, just talking with an office broker and saying, hey, office broker, I need 1,000 square feet with 4 or 5 offices?
I think there's two sides of it. I think once people are in the space, or if they've heard of what we do and how we do it, or if they've got to experience it, to me, it's a sense of community in some of these spaces. It's the community manager that's up front, that's greeting you. We really, our head of operations, Paula Mercer, really wants that concierge service for all the members that are coming in, and so we teach that and train that every day here. And so I think once people experience it, that's one side of it. But how do we get them in there? It's, we the number one lead source is generally the website that we put together for our franchisee, and we give that to them. So they're getting leads from the website that we put together, and so we have that magic recipe on our marketing side to bring those members in for the first time. And then we have, we're a sales organization, so we help them and train them on how to keep those folks there and get a deal done once they're in the space. But to me, once they're there, they don't want to leave because it's such a great sense of community, and that's one of the things that we do over and above, like what a landlord might do. And I've seen a lot of spaces out there that landlords have done in the past, and nothing against them because they know leasing, and so they want to just lease the space and they want to treat it like a normal lease, but it's not. There's so many different things. We talked about the amenities that you need to have. We talked about a sense of community that you need to have and a community manager. And to me, it's the training. The only way you get all of those things all wrapped up that work is training. And we do that here day in and day out with all of our different franchises.
Are any of your franchisees also owners of the building? I'm wondering if there's an opportunity here if an office owner, like they've got 5 floors or something, and they've got one floor, say they've got 10 or 12,000 square feet that's just sitting. It's been sitting for a year, and they're
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to do with this. Co-working sounds interesting. Could you be a potential match for someone like that?
We did. I was mentioning earlier, we did that twice last year with landlords. They had space, and it's like, you know what? I've been really wanting to do co-working. The space came available. I'm ready to do it now. So we won one in San Antonio and one in Greenwich, Connecticut that we're getting ready to open up here first, second quarter. And that's what happened. They came to us and say, hey, teach me how to run a co-working space. And so we are in the process of doing that. And yes, that works every day, all day long. And we're targeting landlords. So if there's landlords out there that want to look at co-working space or they're thinking about it, give us a call. My email address, my LinkedIn profile will be at the end here, and reach out and we can talk through it.
Office, the office asset class in general, has been in the mainstream media headlines for several years, generally in negative ways. Do you have any hesitations about being fully invested in the office asset class right now?
I do not. There are so many indicators out there. I've got another quote for you here that I want to read to you. So in in the second quarter of 2024, there were 7,000 co-working spaces in the US. And today, there's 7,738 co-working spaces in the US, 7% quarter over quarter growth. That's one way to look at it. The other thing that's happened, number of square foot of co-working spaces increased over 11 million in just 1 year. 11 million square feet in 1 year it's increased. Incredible numbers. And most of that, 9 million of that 11 million square feet is in the suburbs, which is another staggering number. When you start looking at these numbers, and yeah, I've seen a lot of new spaces opening up, but then you start looking at the stats. It's like, yeah, co-working's growing. Landlords are starting to take notice of it and wanting to get involved in it as well. And we can help do that. And I just think that many landlords out there that are hopefully listening to this are seeing the light that co-working will bring in foot traffic. Many landlords have told me that they see co-working as an amenity to the building because it brings in so much foot traffic. And not just foot traffic, it's foot traffic that's not there all day long. They're not there 9 to 5 a lot of times. Like we have a lot of, like you had mentioned before, you've seen entrepreneurs coming into the spaces. Those entrepreneurs aren't sitting at a desk 9 to 5. They're running around. They're having lunch in the building. They're using the gym. They're using all the amenities in the building, and they're coming and going all day long. And so I just see that it's a great amenity to many of these buildings out there. And I just wish there was more of it. And this is a great platform for us to get that out there and talk to more landlords. So I do appreciate the time.
I think that's a really interesting perspective that co-working space could actually be an asset to the rest of the building. If you've
Yeah.
got, ground floor restaurants and retail, a co-working space, if you're bringing in a couple dozen people every single day, that could be great foot traffic for those main level retailers.
Yes. And, if you're doing a 10,000 square foot space, you could have 150 members in your space. Now, the good thing is there's only 30 or 40% of them are any in the space at any one time, but that's the foot traffic. And so you get 100 people out of those 150 in the building. They're coming and going, having meetings and in the building at any one time. But that's 100 more people than you would have in like a traditional office of the same size.
You must see some of your competitors make mistakes, and perhaps Vast has made mistakes over the years when developing co working space. Can you talk through what you're seeing, maybe from your competitors, or maybe what Vast has experienced? What mistakes uh, do you see or have been made in the past that just don't work for co working?
Yeah, no, we've all made mistakes. When we first started doing co-working, we would order. furniture for the space, and we looked. Oh, there's 50 offices. We're going to order 50 desks for all the offices, and inevitably, or we would order, too many desks. Inevitably, somebody would come in and say, okay, in that four-person office, I want one desk. So all of a sudden, now we had a stockpile. So yeah, we learned our lesson very early on. So now we order 70%. So I think many of the other co-working companies that are out there that have learned, similar um, lessons. Uh, you know, what we're doing is when we go into a space, we work is always on the forefront of when we're talking to landlords, and what would differentiate you with WeWork, and some of the things that we look at is we're going to right size the space that we're taking. We're not going to take 100,000 square feet. Our largest space right now, we have two spaces in the Venture X brand that are 44,000 square feet. We've never done anything larger. That's a really nice size for us. 22.5 is our average, as I mentioned before. So we're not going to go into a 100,000 square foot space, even if it's available. We just took over a WeWork in Miami, and we went into 3 floors instead of the 15 floors that the WeWork had. And we're right sizing the space for the market. We're being very uh, cognizant of the franchisee, what their goals are. They don't need to spend and do 5 floors or 10 floors. Let's start off small. We have the right of first refusal on additional space. When we first started, we were getting right of first refusal on additional spaces. And here just in Florida, we've expanded 4 of those locations over the last several years into, from 14,000 into 20,000. So there's ways to do it that you don't have to take over, more space than you really need at the time. So we've learned lessons that way. Uh, just making sure that again, we're profits. Each one of the locations are profit centers. So they're run by an entrepreneur, a franchisee that wants to be successful, and they're not going to bite off too much. And we're not going to let them.
Where do you see opportunity today with the co-working space? Maybe it's a market that you're not yet involved in, or maybe it's a certain business model. Is there anything that you see particular opportunity in moving forward?
Well, I think globally, it's, we talked about landlords. Landlords are an untapped market. There's literally millions of landlords out there that we have not gotten in front of yet. And so the landlords opening up co-working spaces in their facilities, that's first and foremost. The other things that we're looking at are, second generation opportunities. I've talked about them briefly before, but 20% of what we did on the Venture X brand last year were either second generation co-working spaces, or they were a conversion of an existing co-working space. And so we're looking to do more of those as time goes on, and we see more opportunities with matching franchisees in certain markets to those opportunities, and having those franchisees grow in other markets. You know, so there's markets that we'd love to be in that we're not in yet. You mentioned that there are markets that we'd love to be in, but we're really franchisee driven. So there's opportunities, still many opportunities out there. We have 200 locations out there, and there's still a lot of opportunity for us. So we're very excited about where the growth is and where we are, and just need more people to come in and take a look.
I love the optimism. As we wrap up, Matt, talk about the risk and the risk of developing co-working space, and then also maybe frame it in terms of where have you seen either your competitors or your franchisees not be successful? You mentioned WeWork; they were just too big. They took over too big of buildings and they had too much
Hmm.
space. So besides having too much space, where maybe franchisees are not as successful as you hope for them to be, what are some of the biggest mistakes or their downfalls?
I think the key to the success for our franchisees is we have a process. We have a process for the sales side. We have a process for the real estate and the construction. We have a process for launch. We have a whole process for taking the franchisee from finding the location all the way through the launch process and getting them open. Where some of the franchisees, maybe struggle is not following that process. It's proven. We have a proven process for each one of our brands, and when they don't follow our process, then they stumble. Maybe not fail so much as maybe they stumble, and so we're always trying to make sure that they're following that process. So that's one of the keys to the success of, I think, any organization is, having a process, following the process. It sounds like the military.
And it's probably tough working in that respect, working with entrepreneurs, because I know I can be hard headed and I just want to do things my way. But
Yes.
when you're a franchisee working with someone else, they already have a proven process, and you really want us to follow that model.
Well, we want in we're all here for the success of the franchisee. That's our number one core goal is we're here for our franchisees. When they're successful, we're successful. So we're here for them. And so we when they struggle, we have meetings and we try and pick them up and move them forward. But other things that, maybe that are problems or things that we're looking out for in the future, interest rates. Construction costs are high. We're struggling with interest rates being high, and so we're working through those things. Construction costs. One of the things that we're trying to do mitigate that is we have preferred vendors on the construction side that for some of our key high profile or high cost items like the glass doors and walls. So we have a company that we use that keeps that price down. And we try not to have that price go up too much over the next couple of years. We have lighting companies that we work with, national distributors for lighting. So we're trying to keep the construction costs down as well.
That sounds incredibly valuable. And I would imagine if a franchisee wants to be hard headed about construction and go rogue, especially if they've never done it before, if they're inexperienced, you probably only have to make that mistake once to get slammed on construction costs. And
Yes,
uh, and
yes,
to you just need to learn that lesson once.
yes, definitely.
All right, Matt, I've really enjoyed this conversation about Vast and co working today. If listeners want to connect with you, where would you like to send them?
They can reach out on my email, mcozza, MCOZZA, at ufgcorp.com, or reach out to me on LinkedIn, Matt Cozza, LinkedIn account.
Matt, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
You too. No, thank you very much.
Listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, reach out to either one of us. We love talking about commercial real estate and co working, and we would love to connect with you. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you. Until next time.
Thank you.